The ascetic Avalokiteśvara statuettes from maritime Southeast Asia may not look as aesthetically pleasing as those made a few hundred years later, but they are an important part of understanding the evolution of Buddhist art in the region. These statuettes illustrate a cultural connection between maritime Southeast Asia and Maharashtra in India, specifically the Buddhist caves located in that state. They are also the earliest among the metal images of Avalokiteśvara in maritime Southeast Asia. When Avalokiteśvara is shown in his ascetic form, he does not have a sacred thread or jewelry such as earrings, necklace, armbands, and bracelets. There is some damage to these images, but the water vessel in the left hand remains for two of them. The lower garments are plain and are held up by a ribbon tied at the waist. The ascetic form of Avalokiteśvara is not just seen in statuettes, but also in votive tablets that have been found in the coastal areas of maritime Southeast Asia. These show two bodhisattvas flanking the Buddha seated in Bhadrasana, or what was once called the European pose. A second group of the ascetic Avalokiteśvaras show him without jewelry or a sacred thread, but now the lower garment is shown with the center part pulled up and over the belt to create a herringbone pattern in the lower garment. The original location of a few of these images suggests a 7th century date. Two of these statuettes were found in the neighborhood of Palembang in Sumatra, Indonesia. This area is believed to have been the heart of the Srivijaya polity, known from the writings of the Chinese Buddhist monk Yi Ying, as well as local 7th century sources. One four-armed statuette is documented as having come from Akyum, a pre-Angkorian site in Angkor, Cambodia, which would also suggest a 7th or early 8th century date. Stylistically, we can note various differences among the images, for instance, in the facial features and in the way the hair is assembled on top of the Bodhisattva's head. The image from Cambodia has a slightly shorter garment than the rest, and the Javanese and Sumatran statuettes have threads of hair lying on their shoulders, while others do not show this feature. It may be concluded that these groups are not the result of one workshop, but products of various places. They show an early common insular Southeast Asian interest in the ascetic form of Avalokiteśvara. As far as I'm aware, no similar small and metal ascetic Avalokiteśvara images have been found in India. However, a comparable iconography can be found in stone reliefs in the Buddhist caves of Maharashtra at Ellora, Ajanta, Aurangabad, and Bach. These ascetic depictions occur primarily in three different iconographic situations. The first showing the Bodhisattva standing as an attending to the seated Buddha with a second Bodhisattva. The second showing him as the focus of a triad with two female attendants. And the third presenting him as Astamahabhaya Avalokiteśvara, also referred to as the Litany of Avalokiteśvara. There was a previous video on this channel looking at the Litany of Avalokiteśvara in Maharashtra. When comparing the ascetic Avalokiteśvara statuette from Java with the ascetic Avalokiteśvara images in the Buddhist caves in Maharashtra, we find a close similarity in dress. Both the Javanese statuette and the images in the Indian caves wear plain, unpatterned wraparound textiles with a cloth pleat between the legs. By comparing the bronzes to the timeline for the ascetic Avalokiteśvara image production in the Buddhist caves in western India, and by comparing them to other images that demonstrate a pan-regional cultural response to Indian input along with the clay tablets, we can approximately date these ascetic statuettes to the 7th century of the Common Era, or maybe even earlier. While the ascetic form remained the most important iconographic form of Avalokiteśvara in other parts of insular Southeast Asia, in Java, the two- or four-armed standing Avalokiteśvara gradually adopted increasingly rich jewelry, and many other iconographic forms became adopted and created.